Welcome to the Backdoor Fantasy Sports Podcast with Russo and Jordy.
Welcome to week 5, guys. It's Russo and Jordy, and we're going to be going over our starts of the week. We're going to break down the Sunday slate, and we're going to get into our DraftKings lineups for Sunday. Sorry we missed you yesterday. We had like a really full schedule, and we were going to try to put the video out, and then it just got too tight. But I promise this upcoming week we'll be back to our normal schedule. But we are going to do our starts of the week and our DraftKings today in a bigger episode, just like we had to do last week. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a like if you don't mind. Just helps us grow the channel. And you guys have been killing it with the likes on the picks videos, but we need a little bit of help with the fantasy football show since it's new. So hook us up with a like. And if you are new to the channel, this is our fantasy football show. We cover redraft and dynasty. We try to do as much fantasy football content as we can. Rilo, my cat's over there trying to get out now. But yeah, and then we also have our picks show, which is underdog prize picks. We'll see, like it's kind of getting tempting to maybe substitute out prize picks with like a better platform, because prize picks continues to just do stuff that we don't like as a community. But we'll see. Obviously there's just a lot of people that play prize picks, so we won't take it away if you guys are only doing prize picks. Let me just get him out of here real quick. All right. So sorry, I had to let my cat out, who I had to let in right before we started the video, into this room.
And then I didn't unpause it, and just went through like 5 minutes of talking without any of it being recorded. That's my bad. Yeah,
that's a producer Jordy over there, just
running
on top
the keys
of it
over here and not doing my job right.
Buttons are made to be pushed over there.
Buttons are hard.
But all right, so if you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, Underdog and Sleeper are both of the platforms we've partnered up with because they're our favorites. Underdog, I'll start with them. They have all sorts of specials going on right now. They've been running discounts, free plays, like all sorts of really cool specials, boosted plays, for like the last like 6 weeks. It was like they were hooking us up coming into the season. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're just continuing these specials. Well, now they just are going to be dropping specials through all of October. So if you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, definitely take advantage of the special they have going right now. If you use code BACKDOOR, they're going to give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick to help you cash your first slip. And they also are going to be dropping additional promos throughout the whole month of October. So take advantage of that. They also have Best Ball Resurrection going on, which is just, I mean, if you've never played Best Ball, it's really fun. It's kind of like a mix between, especially the Best Ball tournaments are a lot of fun because it's kind of like a mix between what DraftKings does with their tournaments, but it's like season-long fantasy football. And with Best Ball, you don't set your lineups each week. It's just whatever player does the best. That's what it automatically puts into your lineup for you. But yeah, with all of the injuries that we've sustained in the first part of the year, Best Ball Resurrection is awesome for that because the landscape has changed with the amount of injuries we're seeing through the first 4 weeks of football.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, use code BACKDOOR, get hooked up with that. Also, their DFS is just awesome. They continue to make it better just week after week. I'm always finding new features that I'm like, I'm so happy that, like, even coming down to like multipliers for DFS, Prize Picks has gotten so bad with the correlation. In my opinion, you have to go like all demon plays and you're still getting like 43x. Underdog is not doing that. Like I made once again, I made 175x 6-man last night. It was a long shot to hit, but the fact that you can do that with plays that aren't even that difficult to hit, like, yeah, they're not like favored to hit, but you're never going to get up that high with the correlation issues on Prize Picks right now. So I'm not trying to trash Prize Picks. I just think that it's becoming a little less fun, and Underdog's being cool about all that stuff. And with the alt lines, Underdog's become super competitive with the alt lines. You can get plays, like single plays, up to like 7 or 8x sometimes now. So yeah, code BACKDOOR, sign up for Underdog. It also helps support the show if you appreciate what we're doing. And then also Sleeper, if you use code BackdoorFS, so just add the FS on the end there for the code, they're going to give you a 100% deposit match up to $100 with your first deposit. So definitely check out Sleeper. It's super practical because you're already on the Sleeper app if you're playing fantasy football and not hating your life, because it's absolutely the best platform for fantasy football. So yeah, jump on Sleeper Picks, use code BackdoorFS, and get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Okay, we're going to get into starts of the week, and then we're going to cover the Sunday slate. So I'm going to have Jordy kick it off with his quarterback start of the week.
Awesome. Yeah, so for my quarterback start of the week, I've got Brock Purdy. I feel really good about Brock's matchup here. Going into Arizona, I mean, Arizona has done a lot of really good things. Like they're a pretty solid rushing defense, but they're giving up quite a bit of air yards. I think, Arizona's got a lot of promising things on the doorstep here. They're just really, really young still as well. They've got like a whole new system, new coach and everything. So, I think the Niners, being as well coached as they are, obviously the Niners have had problems this year too. They're giving up a lot of running yards, and they just haven't been as competitive as we've seen them before. But Brock Purdy has been dealing the football through his first 4 games this year. He's gone for 231 against the Jets, 319 against Minnesota, 292 and 288. And he's a minus 125 to go over 255 passing yards. So I like him in this matchup. I think it's going to be a fun game against Arizona. I wanted to pull up this over under really quickly, just to use it as a reference here. I know we're going to get into all this, but just 1 second here. Where is... Okay, so this game is a 50 over under on the score here. The Niners are favored by 7, so I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think it's going to be a really fun game. So I like Brock Purdy a lot in this matchup. The Arizona Cardinals are ranked 17th in passing yards allowed, so really liking the value you're getting out of Brock Purdy this week. I don't even have him in Dynasty, or in any of my leagues, but man, I wish I did this week because it looks like a pretty good matchup. So going to be rolling with Brock Purdy this week.
Cool. All right. So for my quarterback start of the week, I'm going to be going with Jordan Love, who just continues to impress us. I still don't think we've seen this kid's ceiling. Jordy and I were talking about it before the season started, that we think that people are sleeping on Jordan Love a little bit, because he actually ended the year for fantasy higher than CJ Stroud, or right in that same range. But all the buzz was about CJ. Because he was a rookie and he's incredible too. But Jordan Love, I think, has a higher ceiling personally. I love this matchup against LA. I think it's going to be a shootout. Let's take a look at the over under real quick. Where are you at? I just had it. So we have a 48.5 over under. Packers favored by 3. I think, this defense is not going to be difficult for him to put numbers up. And I think that Stafford will be able to keep the game at least close enough to where they have to, keep the pedal to the floor, which they seem to like to do with Green Bay anyways. So coming off that game against Minnesota, of all people, arguably the best defense in the league, up there with the Steelers, he went for 389 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Now he's facing the Rams, who are 31st in touchdowns allowed and 21st in passing yards allowed. So on top of all that, we know that he's capable of extending plays with his legs. So it's not like he's like a design run type of guy, but he's fast enough and athletic enough to get you a little bit of rushing yards too. So I just love this matchup here. And I mean, he's like an every week start, but I especially like this matchup. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, and they've just got so many weapons, and LaFleur is just a genius the way he runs this team from start to finish, on both sides of the ball. So yeah, feeling really good about Love this week. That's my QB start of the week.
All right. Well, moving on to running backs. My cat is getting dangerously close to this candle I've got going here. All right. So for my running back start of the week, I've got Kyren Williams. Okay, just making sure this is still going. So for Kyren Williams, I feel really good about this matchup this week. Obviously, you're going to start Kyren Williams if you have him. The dude's been an absolute superhero for me since last year. I love to throw around the fact that I drafted him with the 19th pick, or in the 19th round with like the last pick. But the dude has been awesome. Going into this matchup against Green Bay, they're ranked 23rd to running backs in touchdowns allowed. And this dude has been a touchdown machine. He had 3 touchdowns against San Francisco in that matchup against them. Rush attempts, he's averaging 19.5 rush attempts per game. The dude has just been an absolute workhorse for them ever since Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have gone down. So loving the usage he's getting is just unbelievable. He's true like RB1 status now. Rushing yards allowed to running backs, the Packers are a little bit tighter, 11th in rushing yards allowed. So how many yards he's going to get on the ground, I don't know, but I think he's going to get in the end zone at least once or twice, which is going to just obviously make his value go through the roof here. Really, like Russo was talking about the over-under on this one, 48.5 over-under. The Packers only favored by 3. I don't think they're going to shy away from Kyren, even if they go down. I think it'll still be a really good matchup for him. So Kyren Williams, to me, has a really good game script for the Green Bay Packers this week, and I can't wait to watch this game. So he's going to be my start of the week for sure.
Yeah, man, this is definitely one of those games where there's a lot to be had from both of these teams for fantasy.
Absolutely.
Cool. So my running back start of the week is going to be Jordan Mason, going up against the Cardinals, who just have a lot of work to do. We've seen like the potential that the Cardinals have. Obviously, like if you watch the show, you know that's my favorite team, born and raised in Arizona. But we have a lot of work to do. What our defense allowed Washington to do, which give them credit, they've been doing that to a lot of teams. They're just really hard to stop on offense right now. Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels are just really clicking. But I think that this is going to be the type of situation where the 49ers are able to get a lead and maintain a lead, unfortunately, for my Cardinals. I think that they're going to just be running the clock, and I think Jordan Mason's going to get a lot of touches in this one. We have a 50-point over-under, though, with a 7-point spread, so Vegas is expecting the Cardinals to be able to at least keep this within a possession. But yeah, Jordan Mason gets his usage every week, but I think this matchup against the Cardinals, we saw what Brian Robinson and even Jeremy McNichols, the backup running back, were able to do to the Cardinals in the red zone and whatnot. Jordan Mason coming off of that last game against New England, which is actually a pretty decent rushing defense, 37 receiving yards, 123 rushing yards. But now he's facing the Cardinals, who are 30th in rushing yards allowed, 15th in receiving yards allowed. And both of those categories are specifically to running backs. When it comes to actual touchdowns, the Cardinals are 29th in touchdowns allowed to running backs. So I think he could have a really big game. I don't expect him to get too involved in the passing game. I don't think that they'll need to. But we know that he can catch the ball from time to time. He's great with yards after contact. So this is a pretty easy one for me this week. But I think that this, on top of him being an every week starter, I just think that this is a week where he really goes nuts. So what do you want to go next? Wide receivers or tight ends?
Yeah, let's do a wide receiver. So for me, my wide receiver start of the week is going to be Nico Collins. Like, again, this is a guy who's leading the league in receiving yards. It's not that crazy of a take here, but I really like the game script for him. I know everyone's talking about Stephon Diggs in the revenge game, but I think that's going to go the opposite way. I don't think Buffalo is going to let Stephon Diggs do them in like that. I think they're going to kind of key in on him, but obviously Nico Collins is, the best. Right now he's the best wide receiver in football. I think the dude's usage and what he's doing with every play, he's completely unguardable, and they double team him, triple team him, and he's still getting open and getting these amazing like down the field plays. So the dude has just been lights out. It's been pretty awesome to watch because Nico, the dude has fought through like all of these narratives where it's like, okay, maybe we see a step back from Nico this year. They have a lot more talent, but the dude is just going off. He has one game this year under 100 yards, and it was against Minnesota, and he still went for 86 yards. So He's averaging 17.6 yards per reception. He's averaging literally 100 yards per game. Buffalo is number 1 in receiving yards allowed, so they're not giving up a lot. It's going to be a tough matchup, but like I said, I think they're really going to watch Stephon Diggs a lot more and not let him go crazy. I just think the revenge game narrative is going to flop the opposite way, but I could be wrong on this, but Nico Collins is favored to go over 6.5 receptions, and he's also favored to go over 82.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to have a big week. I think it's going to be a really fun game. If we look at the over-under on this game, it's a 47 over-under with just a 1-point favorite to the Texans. Really close game here. We'll see. I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I think maybe Buffalo wins this game. I don't know, but going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, Nico Collins for sure is going to be my start of the week. Going into the number 1 matchup. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm riding with Nico for sure.
All right. Well, that brings me to my wide receiver start of the week, which does go hand in hand with my Jordan Love pick. It's going to be Jaden Reed, who I'm very thankful to have in Dynasty as well. Was able to get him relatively late, not the last pick in the draft. I actually had a little bit of intention behind my pick.
I had
Jordy that just threw a dart.
No.
And got lucky that it hit the bullseye.
Do not even do me like that.
Jordy was just blindfold throwing darts at the wall.
No, it literally. The only reason I drafted Kyren Williams is because they said they were going to use him as their passing back. I had no idea that Cam Akers was going to get fired and Kyren would be their guy, but I did know he was going to get the passing work because I read it. But yeah. Hey, I'll take an RB1 out of it. I ain't complaining.
Hey, I mean, it's been a good little gift from the Lord for you.
Absolutely.
So, but so Jaden Reed though, I mean, so I was like, when he first started to break out last year, the first week I was like, ooh, Jaden Reed, like my rookie here is he went for like 20 fantasy points. Awesome. I'm not going to get my hopes up though. And then he did it again and then again. And I was just like, and even at the end of the season, I was like, this can't be sustainable, can it? Like everyone talks about Christian Watson. And now Dontavian Wicks, who I kind of like was honestly starting to follow the narrative of like, I think Dontavian Wicks is sneakily going to become the one eventually because the dude is just a baller. And I think he's better than Christian Watson personally, even when Christian Watson is healthy. But this connection and the usage, look, LaFleur clearly loves Jaden Reed, and we saw him get LaFleur's trust in his rookie year, and it was working. He's been delivering with his opportunities, and he's kind of like their Deebo Samuel, but he's more athletic. He's not quite as physical, but he's more elusive, and probably I think he's a better route runner personally. But the first game with Jordan Love this year, he went for 171 combined yards, 33 rushing yards, 138 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns in that game, which is just completely nasty. That's just like so ridiculous. And then Jordan Love's first game back, he goes for 141 rushing and receiving. So he had like he only had like 1 rush attempt, but 139 receiving yards. And he did that against Minnesota. We were just talking about how difficult of a matchup that is. Now he's facing LA, like we talked about earlier. We have this high over under. And LA is 32nd in rushing yards allowed and 20th in receiving yards allowed. So, I mean, that's probably going to be a good game for Josh Jacobs too, with them being last in the league with rushing yards. But specifically to wide receivers, they're 25th in rushing yards allowed to wide receivers, which is just terrible. But 18th in receiving yards allowed. So it looks like, some of that percentage there is to tight ends when they're 20th overall with receiving yards allowed and 18th in receiving yards allowed to wide receivers. But I love this dude just overall. I think he's solidified himself as the one at this point, and we'll see. I know Dontavian Wicks went and got 2 touchdowns last week, but I think that this is not going to be good for Christian Watson. if he can't stay healthy, Dontavian Wicks is just going to get better. And Jaden Reed already has his spot locked in, but Dontavian Wicks, if he starts to really show like he has when he has opportunities, that's going to be tricky for Christian Watson to have like some sort of long-term future there. But anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I love Jaden Reed this week. I think it goes hand in hand with the stack with Jordan Love. Love him for fantasy. So yeah, that's gonna cover my wide receiver of the week.
Awesome. I don't know if you've seen the video. It was hilarious. But there's this video of these fans. I don't know who Green Bay was playing. I can't remember what team they were playing, but the wide receivers were warming up in the end zone, and the enemy fans were heckling Christian Watson so bad. They were like, "You're trash. You haven't caught a touchdown." And he's like, "I've got the most touchdowns in my class," and they're just like heckling him, giving him the worst time. And Jaden Reed walks up, and he's like cool as a cucumber, and they're trying to trash talk him, and he's just like, "Y'all doing this for your little TikTok thing, man?" And then they just like friend him, but they still keep trash talking Christian Watson. It was absolutely hilarious. I was just like cracking up about it. They're like, "That's what a real football player looks like," and I was like, "Poor Christian Watson, man. The dude's just got the whole world against him." But he hasn't looked the same since Rodgers has been gone. I don't know. I think a lot of that was a little bit of that Raj touch, but
yeah, I still believe in Christian Watson's talent and his ability. It's unfortunate, honestly, that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's just like a big play machine. You know, he doesn't need a whole lot. Like he's just like a downfield, red zone. But the problem is, in my opinion, Dontavian Wicks is that, but better.
Yeah, I think Christian Watson's like a touchdown or bust kind of guy. Like honestly.
Yeah, I mean, because he's not going to, for full PPR especially, he's not going to get you like a ton of receptions.
Right.
But we just got to wait and see. This is Watson's like third year, I think.
So.
And you know, we saw Drake London come to life last night after, but he doesn't have the same type of competition that Christian Watson does, but we'll see. I hope he can get healthy, and I hope we can really see what he can do. Their wide receiver room is just so stacked.
For sure.
That's why I'm happy that Jaden Reed offers more than just another good wide receiver. He's pretty much got his role locked in.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, we can move on to tight ends.
Sweet. Yeah. Speaking of tight ends, I was really happy that for the pick show yesterday, I did not take Kyle Pitts under, because I almost took him under like 30 and something receiving yards. And the first play of the game, he literally had like 30-yard reception. I was like, okay, Kyle Pitts can play football. Excuse me, sir.
He did look good too.
Yeah.
It's like they made it a point to get him involved. I think it's funny how like the press type stuff, like everyone making a big deal out of that quote of like, you know, we don't play for stats or whatever he said.
Yeah.
We don't care about stats.
Last week I said there's two things I can count on Monday morning. Kyle Pitts sucks at football. and something else.
Really good.
And he proved me wrong. So excuse me, sir. But moving on to tight ends. I've got Travis Kelce here. Obviously you're gonna start Travis Kelce, but he's looked like a ghost for the beginning of the year. I mean, the dude is, I don't know if he was at a Taylor Swift concert for the first 3 games or if he just wasn't on the field.
It was his usage too, though, man. Like,
no,
they didn't need him. Now they need him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Mahomes took out one of their best receivers. I still don't know why he felt like he needed. Yeah, I don't know why he felt like he needed to do that. Maybe Kelce
put him up to it. Yeah,
put a little money in his pocket and was like, "Hey, take out Rashee." But I mean, it sucks. Rashee Rice is, you know, on. I think is he on IR now?
I think so. I'll double check that while you're talking.
Okay. Oh yeah, he is. I can see it on Outlier here.
Cool.
He's on injury reserve. So I mean, Mahomes probably ended one of their receivers' seasons here, but you know, he'll be back. But Travis Kelce, as soon as Rashee Rice left out of that game, Travis Kelce showed up and he had 89 receiving yards against the Chargers. He looked pretty solid again. It was like, you know, they got right back to that connection. You know, they're going into this matchup against the Saints. This is going to be a really, really fun game. If we look at the over-under on this one, this is actually the Monday night game. We got a 42.5 over-under with the Chiefs favored by 5.5. So really fun matchup here. I mean, this is going to be probably one of my favorite games of the week to watch. Unfortunately for the Saints, their injury list just gets longer and longer every week. They've got so many injuries on the defensive side. Demario Davis is questionable. Willie Gay is like hurt. Willie hurt. We've got a lot of questionable tags on the side of the Saints. So really good matchup for Travis Kelce. I mean, if you guys don't know, Demario Davis is really, really good at guarding tight ends. So this matchup is just getting worse and worse every week for the Saints against tight ends. They're 27th in receiving yards allowed to tight ends, so giving up 54.2 receiving yards per game. I think Kelsey's going to have a pretty big game here. I think they're going to start utilizing him more in the red zone. We haven't seen him get a touchdown yet, so I think that's going to change. Last year, it was kind of the opposite way for Kelsey. He had a really hot start, then he had a complete lull in the middle of the year, and then he ended really strong again, obviously, and they ended up winning the chip. But this year it's been the opposite. He started out horrible. I mean, the first 3 games he had about 1 reception per game, averaging 30 yards. So it just looked really, really bad. So now, last game, 9 targets, 7 receptions. He got right back to where he left off. So hopefully he just continues to grow from there. Hopefully not too much, because I hate the Chiefs. But yeah, I think he's going to have a really big week against the Saints, and I can't wait to watch that game.
Yeah, I think until they trade for somebody, if they do, or we see the emergence of Worthy, I think that they're going to have to go back to, Old Faithful.
Yeah.
With their,
Chiefs fans need
healthy
to chill out too, because you guys are not getting Devontae Adams from your rival. I'm sorry. They're not going to let that happen. Why would they trade Devontae Adams to Kansas City? That just makes 0 sense for them. But
yeah, who knows though?
I see Dallas reports. Hopefully
weirder things have happened. I don't think he's going to Dallas.
No, he won't.
You want him to go to Dallas?
No, I do not. I want CeeDee Lamb to keep getting fed.
Well, speaking of Dallas, my tight end start of the week is going to be Jake Ferguson, going into a tough matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. But I think, he's shown to be so consistent. 7 targets last week, 7 receptions. So, half PPR, full PPR, relatively solid outing in a position that's kind of tough to call right now. A lot of guys getting injured. Hopefully Trey McBride is through the concussion protocol and good to go. It's looking like he's going to be good to go, but it's just the landscape for tight ends is kind of tricky right now. Jake Ferguson is like looking better every year too. And he's looking more athletic than he did last year, in my opinion. But the matchup is tough. Receiving yards allowed, the Steelers are 5th. I'm sorry, targets allowed to tight ends, they're 5th. And then, they're also 5th in receiving yards allowed. But I think the attention is going to be on CeeDee Lamb. We've got Brandon Cooks is out with right knee infection. And then it might be a little bit easier for Pittsburgh to keep this close. Let's look at what the over under is for this game. 44 point over under. Steelers favored by 2.5. So, I mean, I would imagine their game plan is mostly going to be like Najee, just trying to run over what looks like the worst rush defense in the league right now. But I think this will end up being like a pretty solid game for George Pickens too. But the Cowboys, they're going to have to do something. And I think Ezekiel Elliott has a chance to miss this game. So I think, Jake Ferguson is just that like safety blanket. I think the focus is going to be on Lamb. So yeah, I like him to get this done. And again, I think he's still being a little bit underrated. 7 for 7 is nothing to, just sort of shrug at. Like that's pretty solid. It was against the Giants, I get that. But, against Baltimore, he went for 95 receiving yards on 6 receptions. So, and that was them playing from behind. I just don't know. Like it's hard for me to imagine the Cowboys just being, playing from behind against the Steelers, but the Steelers defense is stout and the Cowboys are a little bit banged up. So this will be a fun one to watch. A good test for both teams. But yeah, I'm going to be going with Ferguson for my start of the week.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that wraps us up on starts of the week.
Cool. Well, let's break down this slate.
All right.
All right. So we got the London game at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Jets versus Vikings. This one should be a lot of fun. 40.5 over under. Vikings favored by 2.5. I think we'll see. We'll see when Jordy gets to his hot take of the week, but I don't see the Jets winning this game. I don't see it being within 2.5 points. I think that the Jets defense is good, but they don't look like they did last year, at least not yet. And the Vikings are just absolutely on fire right now. So the Vikings have a really solid defense and they're killer on offense. So, I mean, I don't see it being this close, but I'm guessing because it's the London game, they have this lower over under at just 40.5. I feel like these games tend to be a little bit more run heavy when they're overseas and they're early like that, but I don't know. I think that this Vikings offense could still just get out there and put up a bunch of points again, personally. But as far as fantasy goes, I think this will be a solid game for. Obviously, Justin Jefferson will be the focus on defense for the Jets, but I think this could be a pretty solid game for Aaron Jones.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of fun fantasy pieces for the Vikings. Like we've talked about Jalen Naylor. That dude has been really solid, like pretty consistently.
Yeah, I think he's questionable or injured at the
Never
moment.
mind.
Jordan Addison looked great in his first game back, though.
Definitely. He's definitely a startable piece.
Yeah.
Who would
absolutely.
put him on the bench? That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm putting him on the bench this week.
Yeah.
Just because of my other options, but yeah. So as far as the Jets go, I think this will be a solid. I mean, that's just kind of wild to me. Just a 40.5 point over under. I feel like that should be up at like 43 or 44.5. But I think that this is maybe a bounce back situation for Breece Hall. They have to get him involved to open everything up. And like, I get it that Braylon Allen is looking really good. And I'm sure he'll be like maybe flex worthy, but I think that they need to get back to Breece Hall getting like, 25 touches, maybe like close to 20 rush attempts and like 5 receptions. Like they need to center this around Breece Hall again, in my opinion, because he's a beast when he gets into rhythm. And if you're like, you're giving him more of a timeshare with Braylon Allen, I just don't think you're getting the most out of Breece personally. But yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold should have another good outing. This Vikings story has been really fun to watch unfold. They look really good. Next up, we got the Browns playing in Washington against the Commanders. 43.5 over under. Commanders favored by 3.5. Man, how like it's crazy how much things have changed since like week 1 coming into the season. Like to see the Commanders favored against the Browns, which makes sense to me right now. Browns defense hasn't been as scary as we thought it would be coming into the season. And Washington, they actually looked better on defense last week. Not saying that they've fixed everything, but it looks like they're kind of figuring some things out with the rookies they have. I think their cornerbacks are pretty young. But yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb is not going to be playing in this game, but I think that he's back to practice, which is pretty exciting. They definitely need him.
I definitely
Jaden Daniels.
need him on one of my redraft leagues. I'm like, dude, the injuries, man, it's just horrible.
It has been
I'm like
brutal.
0-4 in our Discord, like our community, our backdoor fantasy sports like football league. These guys are all just thinking I'm like an easy win every week because my team is so beat up, and all these guys are watching our show, so the wire is just completely gutted. So that's fun.
Well, I'll fill you guys in though. Jordy was more concerned about a stack than just choosing a better quarterback, and he passed up on his own Dak Prescott to draft Caleb Williams because he had
bought
Rome
into the
Odunze.
hype. Okay, I bought into the tea that this dude is gonna be a gunslinger. But
he drafted him, and I like texted him because I was like running the commissioner stuff for the draft, and I texted him like, "Did you mean to take Caleb over Dak?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay,
dude."
cool.
You know what though? I blame who was it? Was it Brother David who completely stole my entire draft from me? Because I had the number 2 pick, and I thought for sure he was going to take Christian McCaffrey, and I took Christian McCaffrey with the second pick because he snaked CeeDee Lamb from me. So my go-to plan every year is just to grab the CeeDee and Dak stack because those are my boys, but Brother David robbed me. So
you can keep coming up with excuses, but you need to just figure out how to get a win on the board.
I know, dude. It's horrible. I'm playing Bean Daddy, and it ain't looking good.
Yeah, I got to beat Guru this week, or else I'm going to hear about it all Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we got Ravens versus Bengals. 49 point over under. Ravens favored by 2.5. I think this should be a bigger spread. I don't think that the Bengals are going to be within 3 points of this Ravens team. Could be wrong. And I don't see it happening.
This is going to be my hot take of the week. Give me the Bengals. Give me the Bengals.
My God.
Yep.
It just gets spicier every week. All right. I mean, they're playing in Cincinnati.
The Bengals need this win more than the Ravens do. So I think that their back's against the wall. And when you corner a Bengal Tiger in the corner, they're going to claw their way out. So I think Joe Shiesty gets it done.
Well, I think this is going to be another monster game from Derrick Henry. I think that this is just going to be the approach moving forward. Unless they're playing from behind, you can just say goodbye to those pass catchers you drafted with a Ravens uniform on. I think Derrick Henry is just like the weird usage in game 1. We knew that couldn't last. We're like, what are they doing?
Not only that, but what's up with these hot takes from their coach, Harbaugh? He's like, we didn't bring him in here to be an 18 attempt or more running back. And now he's like doing nothing but that. So I'm just like, maybe he had a change of heart.
Yeah. Harbaugh is a really good coach, though. Like he gets a little bit caught up in
Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Have not done anything for me, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
obviously Harbaugh is an amazing coach, but I'm just a little mad at him right now because I got 2 star tight ends just doing nothing every week.
Yeah, Harbaugh does not care about your fantasy lineup, nor does anybody in the NFL.
Yeah.
Except for
because I need my tight ends to do something.
Yeah, good luck with that. But
enjoy sports betting and daily fantasy? Well, Daily Grind is here to help you beat the books. They make premium DFS tools that do all the work for you, comparing lines across just about every platform, looking for discrepancies for you to take advantage of. Start off your research with their DFS Optimizer, a tool that finds all the best plays and rates them with their odds to hit indicator. Or if you'd rather have them make your entire slip for you, they have you covered with their AI slip generator. They'll even notify you when a new slip is available. Go to dgfantasy.com and use code BACKDOOR. They will give you 25% off your first subscription all the way up to a year if you want. That's dgfantasy.com, code BACKDOOR.
All right, so before we jump into the next game, I do want to just mention that the Bengals defense is pretty solid, but I think that the Ravens defense is pretty solid, but I do think that the Bengals are going to only have one choice, and that's to be like passing the ball. So I think this will be a good outing for Jamar Chase. We'll see about T. Higgins. I don't know.
He's just saying that because I had to start Zach Moss against him this week.
You do not want to start Zach Moss this week, guys.
I have no choice.
It's going to be all Chase Brown. I'm like, no, but yeah, we're playing each other in our dynasty league, and I desperately need a win in that one. But
I agree with him though. I think this is not a week to start Zach Moss. But
yeah, like
some people
you do what you got to do.
Yeah,
he'll be solid. He could surprise us, but I think the Bengals are going to be pass heavy and playing from behind.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's going to be within 2.5 points, but Jordy thinks the Bengals are winning, and he's got a perfect record with these ridiculous hot takes this year so far. So,
Yes, sir.
All right. So next up, we got the Panthers in Chicago against the Bears. And I was chuckling a little bit because I was imagining what this would have looked like if it wasn't Andy Dalton. Like if it was still Bryce Young, this would be
5 interceptions.
We'd have to have a defensive start of the week just for this game. But Andy Dalton has turned things around. They're probably not like a deep playoff team or even a playoff team, but for fantasy, like it's exciting. Like he brought to life these guys that should have been good, like Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, Xavier Legette.
And yeah, Legette, so exciting. Like every week, he's just one of those guys that it's so exciting each week to see him develop a little bit more because someone actually can utilize him. But we have a 41-point over under. We're playing in Chicago. The Bears favored by 4. I would love to see the Panthers steal this one in Chicago. That'd be hilarious.
Bobby would not be happy about that one.
Yeah. And no offense to anyone who's a Chicago fan. But I'm just saying the narrative would be pretty funny.
It would.
All right. So is this another good week for DeAndre Swift? I mean, we were talking so much trash about DeAndre Swift, and I was so confident that he was just done. And he goes and has a monster game, and now he's playing against the Panthers, who are terrible against the run. And I mean,
well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing: we've seen these types of games from DeAndre Swift before, right? Like we've seen massive games. Yeah. Like, I mean, we've seen, last year he had one performance over 20 points, and that was week 2 against Minnesota. He had 28 attempts, 175 yards. Dude looked unbeatable in week 2. It was like, okay, DeAndre Swift's going to be crazy. He never went over another, he had a couple games over 15 points, but nothing over 20 after that. So, it's like, those are decent performances, like 17, 16, whatever. But this year we got 5, 8, 6, and then he has this massive 29-point fantasy point game against the Rams. I'm just not buying it. I think this is a great matchup for him this week. He has a great matchup the week after that against Jacksonville too. But coming out of that bye week, man, it's nothing but rocky road. I mean, he after that he's got Washington, then Arizona, then New England, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Francisco. It's like it just gets really tough for him. We'll see. Hopefully we're wrong. I would love to see DeAndre Swift be great, but so far it just hasn't. I mean, the dude has got.
I mean, Arizona's a cake matchup for him.
Yeah,
but
I actually think Arizona's rushing defense looks better than their passing defense. I just think that they. I don't know. Like Arizona's a tough one to figure out right now in defense because it's like. They rallied to the ball really well, but it's just like and
it's also tricky when your offense isn't clicking and you're getting all those extra snaps. But I agree. Like I think on the rush defense and the pass defense, I think Arizona looks better than you would expect them to.
Yeah.
When you look at the roster, and it's just any given game. They could show up, I think they just need to get a little bit of consistency going. So yeah, we'll see. But definitely this week against the Panthers should be a solid outing for him.
Yeah.
But I really, it's like, it's unfortunate about this offensive line situation with the Bears, because I do think that Caleb is much better than we're seeing right now. And it's like, dude, you've got weapons everywhere. Like I really want to see what this could look like,
Yeah, so, I just don't know if I'm buying it yet, because look at what Joe Burrow did with the horrible O-line he had for 3 years. He had amazing talent at wide receiver too, but he was able to still get the ball off and get the ball into the hands of these players. So I just think that I think it hurts DeAndre Swift's value too with how bad their O-line is. Honestly, obviously that's a big part of being a running back. You got to run behind your blocks. So we see people like Rashad White, who it's like this guy is only productive because of the system he's in my opinion. If you put Rachaad White on the Bears, he'd probably look worse than DeAndre Swift. So
he is a really good pass catcher, though.
He is.
His running game is rough. He looked a little bit better last night. He needs to definitely get better at the actual running.
Yeah.
But they've got Bucky Irving, so it's not like a priority. They still want to, if you really want to talk about Tampa Bay, we didn't even review that game, but the blown tackles were ridiculous. Like we can review that a little bit after.
The game.
But, yeah, Todd Bowles talked about it at the half, and when she was interviewing him about it, and she didn't mention the tackling, but she said, like, what can you do to slow this down a little bit? And he literally said, we need to tackle better. And then I started watching a little bit closer, and it's just like receivers would catch the ball, and you would literally hear the defender wrap them up and tackle them, and then it's like their arms weren't locking, or it's like their tackling technique was awful. But anyways, we're taking entirely too long talking about the Buccaneers on the Panthers and Bears matchup.
I know, but I think DeAndre Swift's a good pass catcher too. I like Swift and I like Cole Kmet a lot in this matchup. So those are like the two players I like a lot.
All right. Well, moving on, we got the Stephon Diggs revenge game, which isn't really getting that much hype.
Yeah.
Press wise, you'd think it would more, but yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think it's going to be about that. I think Stephon Diggs, he looks like maybe, and we've seen this before, he's on a new team. He's happy for now. Just like when he went to Buffalo, he was so happy and, going on and on about how he's just so happy to be with the team that appreciates him and stuff. Well, in this situation, we're seeing that again. He doesn't like, I think that a revenge game for Stephon Diggs would be just them winning this game.
Yeah.
47 point over under, Texans favored by 1. So should be a close, fun game. But I think Khalil Shakir has a chance to miss.
Okay.
I believe he's questionable. So maybe we see a little bit more from Keon Coleman or Curtis Samuel. Maybe we get him a little bit more involved. Probably relatively solid outing for Dalton Kincaid. But yeah, I think that this is, I just don't think that there's really a defense other than maybe the Broncos who can really stop Nico Collins.
Yeah.
You always think he's going into a tough matchup and he goes for like 100 yards and a touchdown,
he's really unguardable right now.
He really is. And I think the two of them, him and Diggs, I think it's going to be a lot for Buffalo to handle. And then there's a chance Joe Mixon plays. If Joe Mixon's back, like, geez, like, we've had like 2 straight weeks without Mixon. So it's kind of hard to even get a gauge on what Nico and Diggs can do when there's that threat of Mixon, because we saw in week 1 how great that looked.
Yeah.
And then, I think that, just like every week, this is going to have to be a big Josh Allen game for the Bills to have a chance. It was pretty crazy seeing in that last game him just get completely shut down. He's like the definition of boom bust. It's either major boom or like he's getting you like 11 points, which doesn't happen that often. Like he hits more often than he misses, but yeah, they're playing in Houston. This will be a fun one to watch for sure. Next up, we got the Colts versus the Jaguars. I don't know why, but I think this is gonna be a fun game to watch. Like, we've got Jonathan Taylor officially ruled out. We've got Trey Sermon. Didn't want to say it wrong again this time, like I did earlier. But we have a 46 point over under. So Vegas is expecting both of these teams to put some points on the board. I'm really curious to see if it's going to be Flacco or Anthony Richardson. But it's like, unfortunately, a similar situation with Andy Dalton bringing these pass catchers to life. Like Joe Flacco was getting Michael Pittman going and Josh Downs, and like, it's just unfortunate. Like I can't wait I really hope Anthony Richardson can excel with his pass game a little bit more. But on the Jaguars side of things, obviously I think it'll be another great game for Christian Kirk and for Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah.
I think I also am really curious to see the usage between Tank and ETN.
Is Evan Ingram back yet?
Let's check. Let me just pull it up.
I
real
can't remember
quick.
when he comes back, but I know week 5. I thought he was on IR till 5, but I could be wrong.
I'll pull it up real fast. I thought that I saw that he was like doing better, maybe practicing, but let's double check it.
Because that would be a pretty solid matchup for him if he is healthy.
He's still listed as questionable.
Okay.
Hamstring. I don't think he went. Yeah, he didn't go to IR.
No, he didn't. Okay.
No.
That's a crappy situation because that dude is super good. But
yeah, he hasn't done anything this year yet. But game 1, he went four targets, 1 reception, 5 yards, and then I think it was in that maybe the warm-ups against Cleveland in week 2 when he tweaked his hamstring.
It's so crazy. Warm-ups.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how this usage looks with Tank, because if ETN, I just think Tank looks better right now.
I think I've seen that he was questionable too.
Oh, Tank is?
I think so. Let me check it right now. I've got him pulled up here. Yeah, he's questionable, limited at practice, but they expect him to be good to go.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't know why. I'm just super curious week after week to see, because Tank has looked so good.
Oh yeah.
And we're actually seeing him get more snaps. So be following that closely. But yeah, 46 point over under. This should be pretty solid for fantasy. I'm just glad there's clarity with Jonathan Taylor just being out and not being like, they're going to see how he does. And, maybe he tries to play and you've got like a 50-50 backfield. Like, I'd rather just have Trey Sermon in there. And know what's coming. All right, next up we got the Dolphins versus the Patriots. 36 point
watching this game.
36 point over under. Dolphins favored by 1 in New England. That's how bad the Patriots are right now. Like, the Dolphins are favored to win this in New England.
Just put Drake May in. Just get a little bit of a spark going here. Like, I know they're trying to protect him, blah blah blah, but come on, dude. Like, you guys need it.
We'll see. Do you know that Ramondre Stevenson has a fumble in every game of the year so far?
Yeah, that's how do you
4
not
straight.
like? That's just crazy. Like, usually, like, coaching point, when a guy fumbles, you go into fumble drill all week long. Like that. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen, but when Jalen Warren was a rookie, he fumbled the ball in like 2 straight games. Mike Tomlin made him carry the football around high and tight for the entire week. Like, wherever he walked, he was holding the football high and tight because he had a habit of swinging the ball around. And Ramondre Stevenson is doing the same thing. And like, Mike Tomlin was like, you will not have another snap until you keep that ball high and tight. So it's like that comes down to coaching a lot too. Like, really, it does. Like, you got to make sure you guys are securing the football. So hopefully they get it figured out. I don't think it's going to last, but that is bad.
Well, their coach said he's undecided on whether or not Antonio Gibson will be starting this week.
Oh my God, after that massive contract they just gave Ramondre.
Yeah. So if he starts Ramondre after saying that, and then Ramondre gets a fumble in this game,
yeah, he's probably.
That's not.
We're gonna see a majority snap share for Gibson after that, probably, if that happened.
Yeah, but that whole situation's on fire right now. That coach has so many fires to put out.
He does.
I really hope we see a little bit of improvement from Huntley in this game, being like his second start. I hope we can open up the playbook a little bit more. Still thinking, like, right now I have Tyreek on my bench and I'm probably going to end up starting him over JSN this week. But 36 point over under. Vegas is not expecting much, so we'll have to see how this goes.
You sure you want to start Tyreek?
Thinking about it. I think I might.
Let me know what you think.
Because last week, if he connected on, it's like if that was the plan, the opportunities were there. If they connected, Tyreek, is over 20 points in fantasy.
Oh yeah, he would have had a monster game.
Yeah, it's like that the game plan was to get him involved, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be involved much this week. Just insider information there.
Yeah. Once again, we're playing each other. He doesn't want me to start Tyreek.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Cardinals versus 49ers, 50-point over under. 49ers favored by 7. We already talked about this a little bit. But for fantasy sake, I would be starting James Conner. Obviously, you don't ever sit Conner. That game against Detroit was rare. And I think even if they, play Detroit again, I think the Cardinals will adjust a little bit. But if Conner is not a heavy part of what they're doing, their offense is just not going to work. So
it's a great matchup for Conner too.
Yeah, I like the matchup. I like I like all the typical guys, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm really hoping that Kyler goes off in this game, because I started him over Kirk Cousins in one of my leagues.
Yeah.
So don't let me down.
Dude, that's Kirk Cousins in a nutshell, isn't it? It's like he'll give you a solid 19 to mid 20 games, and then he'll just have that monster game where it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, for sure. We already talked about Jordan Mason. Hopefully Trey McBride is good to go. Juwan Jennings, I think that right now he's still getting good usage. So until Ayuk really cleans things up and just demands more snaps, it's tough. Because he let Juwan Jennings right in the door, man.
The back door.
And all right, well, we'll keep it moving here. Raiders versus Broncos, 35.5-point over under, playing in Denver favored by 3. I went and snagged Broncos defense. I'm starting them. No Devontae Adams. That's my gut. I don't think he's totally ruled out. He says he has a hamstring issue, but I think he just wants to get traded.
Yeah. Sure, buddy.
And so I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to do anything against this Broncos defense. I hope the Broncos just eat, because
I'll give it to Devontae Adams. He's got the Raider attitude locked down. He's a Raider through and through. Dude hates his life, and he's making sure everyone knows how angry he is. So what's up with these star wide receivers? When they go to the Raiders, they lose their mind. Antonio Brown, some sort of demon entered him when he got traded to the Raiders, and now Devontae Adams has a hamstring, air quote, injury, and he doesn't even want to be there anymore. I know that they really did him dirty, though. He thought he was going to play with Derek Carr, his college quarterback, and they gave it 1 year, and he had a monster year, and then they traded Carr away, and it was just really wrong on the part of the Raiders. So I can see why he's just mentally checked out.
And now they've got Gardner Minshew and Antonio Pierce. That's their coach, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about moving to Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
Even though Gardner's been
doing
fine.
that to try to get Adams back, because he wanted AOC to begin with, and so they're probably like, "Hey, look, come back,
hey, buddy.
Yeah,
look, we'll give you AOC."
Yeah. Can't bring Carr back, but
I am pretty high on, for Dynasty, Trey Tucker. I think that he is going to eventually have a breakout. It's just not going to be against the Broncos. But if Adams does end up getting moved, like Trey Tucker, you definitely want to go get him for Dynasty, because he's got the speed. He's pretty solid. They're going to have to find some way to get Brock Bowers going in this, because I don't even remember his name. That's how forgetful he's been this year. But what's supposed to be their RB1?
Zamir White.
Zamir White. I don't think he looks as good as Madison. Madison looks much better, in my opinion, so far.
Like a lot of we ranked Zamir White a little higher than we should have, but when you looked at the game plan for Zamir White, it was like, this dude's going to get all the work. So and he has gotten a lot of work. So for him to not capitalize on what he's been getting, it's really, really bad. But Alexander Madison has definitely looked like the guy.
Yeah, in our running back rankings video, though, we did say that. It was like, guys, this is like a pure volume play because we don't think he looks great.
Yep.
But all right, let's move on. Before we do, like, yeah, on the Broncos side of things, Javonte, solid start this week, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we know Bidet, he actually got injured, right? I know he fumbled the ball, but I think he's out this game. And Javonte did look a little bit better.
Yeah, McLaughlin's just been in like the doghouse. So
yeah, he's still been getting touches, but just they gotta find something. Get something going. Maybe this is a good game to get things right. All right, now we got Giants versus Seahawks. We're almost wrapped up with this. Then we'll get into DraftKings and get out of here. So Giants versus Seahawks, 42.5 point over under. Seahawks favored by 7, playing in Seattle. I think it's going to be much more than a 7-point, spread favor to the Seahawks. Personally, the Seahawks looked really good against Detroit with a team that was super banged up, missing like 5 starters on defense total, like 4 defensive linemen.
Yep.
They're playing in Seattle. You don't have Malik Neighbors. You have Wan'Dale Robinson questionable. You had
you got Danny Dimes, baby.
You got Devin Singletary. It was looking like he was going to miss. Now he's been upgraded to questionable. I guess he practiced a little bit today. But
I hope he misses. I want to see what Tyron Tracy's got in the tank.
Yeah, I mean that in DraftKings, I was gonna sneakily put Tyron Tracy in my lineup, thinking like maybe he's super cheap, but it looks like DraftKings is kind of preparing for that a little bit.
Yeah,
because he was up at like 5,600, so I was like, I'm not gonna pay that for him because I don't even know.
Yeah,
but I think that this is gonna be, Kenneth Walker's a little bit questionable right now too, still dealing with the oblique a little bit. Hopefully he plays. He looked absolutely amazing. When you think about
how do you not re-aggravate an injury the way he played? That was unreal. Dude, I took his fantasy score for our pick video over 10. I had no idea the dude was gonna go for 34. Like, I was like, hey, he gets a touchdown, he hits this, maybe he has a slow game after that. But my God, that took away, not that I had any doubts in Kenneth Walker, but that took away any inkling I had of like, okay, maybe this becomes a committee. No, I mean, it's Zach Charbonnet is really good, but yeah, he definitely made a statement.
That was an absolute statement, because I'm a Zach Charbonnet owner and I was really excited. Zach Charbonnet started to look good. He started to figure some things out, and I think he's going to continue to get better. He looks like he's got a lot of upside in the future, but Kenneth Walker made such a statement. When you think about what they did to James Conner, and then you see Kenneth Walker first game back from the oblique situation he was dealing with, and he passed the eye test too. It's not just like, oh yeah, he got lucky, he fell into the end zone a couple times. Like, no, dude, like the dude was playing like that play where he like got tackled but didn't touch the ground and then like flipped himself back over. Like that was so hilarious, like WWE style.
Dude, I still like whenever I think about that game though, my head goes back to that David Montgomery reception. That was just the most insane play I've seen in a long time, where it's like that's the difference in sizes in human beings. Like, mass moves mass. That guy is insane to watch. I love watching David Montgomery.
Yeah, man. I love it when a player gets traded to a perfect fit.
Oh yeah.
Like his style of play, like he just belongs with the Lions.
Yeah,
like
Dan Campbell's situation is just perfect.
But that's just a testament to the coaching, though, because you tend to say that with everybody on their roster.
Yeah.
With Goff is like perfect for them. Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, like they just have such a good culture going on in Detroit. Like, and that's so underrated in the NFL. Like, it's just, and it's really like, cool.
Not to even like say this is a disrespectful thing, but it's like it fits the city of Detroit. It's like the smash mouth team that's just super gritty and violent, and it's like I love it because it's like they've got such a awesome culture around that team, and it's a lot of fun. It's
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
I remember like, I think it was like a year or two ago when they were on Hard Knocks and we started watching it, me, you, and your brother.
Yeah.
And you guys were kind of Dan Campbell haters. I'm not trying to call you out, but when we saw him doing those, whatever those drills were with his team, like jumping down, doing push up and jumping back up.
Yeah.
I forget what those are called, but you could
Up
just
downs.
feel,
Yeah.
up downs. You could just like the dude won us over when we saw like how he was behind the scenes. And it's like, dude, we all just became like huge Dan Campbell fans.
No, for sure.
And
I think with like the Dan Campbell thing was, to me, I was like, he was a super unproven coach. He came in super emotional. So it was just like, I was like, what is going on with this guy? Like, he's proved nothing yet. And he's just being like, he kind of seemed a little nuts. But now it's like, holy crap, he's nuts in an amazing way. Like, so for me, I was just like a little skeptical. Definitely was a little bit on the haterade, but dude has completely won me over. I mean, my God, he's amazing.
Like that dude would take a bullet for his teammates. Like for his team, like that's not even a stretch.
If
like
they gave him a chance, he would pad up and get in the game immediately if he had to.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm just so jealous of that culture. I like the way the things are going with the Cardinals culturally, but I just think that's super underrated. But anyways, guys, we'll get back on track here. We're just being extra chatty today because it's fun. But all right, so Packers in LA versus the Rams, 48.5 over under. Packers favored by 3. This is going to be a really good game for your fantasy pieces. I think we already talked about it. We happen to have like multiple starts of the week in this game. Again, props to Jordy beforehand calling out Tutu Atwell when he was not on my radar. And he's not like getting a ton of targets, but he's definitely like kind of like he's young, but it's almost kind of like the old faithful thing we were talking about with the Chiefs earlier of like, okay, let's just get this little speedster in here who knows how to play our game, and but yeah, we also saw Jordan Whittington getting more usage, who took over the Puka Nacua role, it looks like, more than Cooper Kupp, but yeah, and then we got Cooper Kupp that hopefully is somewhat nearing a return because if this team can just kind of keep it together until he gets back, I really want to see this team at full strength because the Rams offensively, I was so excited to see what a healthy Kupp and a healthy Nacua with Stafford could do. And then, I mean, for now, it's just Kyron Williams. I was also skeptical about that. I really thought teams were just going to be able to stack the box, but McVay figures out a way. And that it obviously it led to just the same old, like, let's give Kyron Kyron's our offense now. But I thought teams would be able to scheme against that a little bit better. But so far it's been working like a charm. I mean, geez, the dude's going to end up having another year of like 1,000 touchdowns is what it's looking like. But yeah, Vegas thinks it's going to be high scoring. I'm all over this game. 48.5 over under, but all right. And Cowboys versus Steelers. Again, somewhat of a shocking over under at 44. If they think the Steelers are going to win, that's what's weird to me. Like, if you tell me the Cowboys are in a game against anybody and it's a 44-point over under, I'm like, yeah, they're the highest scoring team in the league last year. But if you tell me that 44 and they think the Steelers are going to win this thing, I mean, it's in Pittsburgh. That's just kind of weird to me. I just think if the Steelers are winning a game, I think that the over under is 37.5.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a really tight race the whole way through. I think Dallas can get this one done. There's a couple of matchups every year with being a Dallas fan where I'm like, we're going to lose that game. We're going to lose that game. But, I knew we were going to lose the game against the Ravens because they needed the win more than us. And it was like, in this game, this is going to be a good test for the Cowboys this year. So I'm really excited to watch it because this is one of those games where I'm like, okay, this is going to give me a feel for how we're going to do in really tough matchups all year. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to go absolutely crazy in this game. I think this is going to be one of those games where it's like, okay, they've unlocked this part of their offense now. I think the run game is going to be a little shaky because the Steelers, it's just such a good defense. But we'll just see. I don't know. I really don't know how to, like, I think the more respectable over under for this game would be like a 37.5 over under. with, maybe the Cowboys favored by like 1. I think it's going to be that close of a game. Maybe I'm wrong. If it's not that, then the Cowboys are going to win this game convincingly, I think. I don't think there's a world where the Cowboys get blown out or anything.
That's what's throwing me off. So like, if you think, the viewers, if you guys think that the Steelers are going to win this and you play game lines, I would take the under, because I just don't see it getting that high. If the Steelers win this game, I think they're strapping up the Cowboys.
It's going to be like a 17-13 win.
Which we're thinking about getting into game lines. Like, let us know in the comments if that's something you guys would be into. But we're thinking about maybe adding a segment where we cover the spread on all of these, since we do it anyways, but we might make it like an official thing to start covering game lines for like FanDuel and stuff like that. Just let us know if that's something you guys would be interested in. I am happy this game is at 8:20. I like this type of game. Yeah, there could be more exciting games. That Rams Packers game would have been nice in the primetime spot Sunday night. But with what I want to, like, with the way this spread is and everything, I'm just like, cool. Like, this will be fun to have this just to focus on.
Yeah.
And not have like other games going on at the same time.
No kidding.
Let's talk about why you should be using Chalkboard, the daily fantasy platform that runs specials every day of the week. Build plays for as low as $1 and enjoy the wide variety of alt lines. The higher the line, the higher the payout. It's that simple. Once you've made your picks, you can go whole hog with their max cash option or insure yourself with their shield play option. Download Chalkboard on your Apple or Android device and use code BACKDOOR for a 100% deposit match.
All right, so that moves us to the Monday night football game, which should be a lot of fun. Saints going into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. 43-point over under. Chiefs favored by 5.5. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. At 43 is kind of crazy. I thought this would be a way higher over under, but
so did I. I thought it'd be higher than the Cowboys versus the Steelers.
Yeah. I don't see that game being, I think this game will be closer to like a 50-point over under. The Chiefs are going to have to get dirty with this one to win it, I think, because, they got no Rashee Rice. I think you see a lot of big plays on both sides of the ball. I think you see a lot of, Rashid Shaheed. I think you see a lot of Xavier Worthy type stuff going on with both offenses. I think Kelsey obviously gets really involved in this game because it's a great matchup. Like I said, they've got Demario Davis, who is on the injury report. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think as long as the Chiefs can do Chiefs things where they can effectively run the ball with Kareem Hunt, who looked really solid, and they can get their receivers out in space, I think they're going to be probably winning this game. But I don't doubt the Saints with anything anymore. I mean, the Saints are, I think they're going to be a playoff team. So, New Orleans to me looks really, really good. They lost a really tight game. To the Falcons. So we'll see what it looks like, but I'm really excited to watch this game. I think it's going to be the best game of the day for sure.
On Monday, yeah, it's the only game of the day.
Yeah. I was thinking it was Sunday night for some reason. Yeah, that's the
true statement.
Yeah, it is going to be the best game of the day. I don't care if baseball's on. It's going to be the best game out there.
One thing that we'll have to look a little bit at is Kareem Hunt popped up with a shoulder injury, which is a bummer because I was just like,
who did he drop kick?
I want to see him like have a bounce back here. This opportunity, this situation is just so fun. Him going back to the Chiefs, him actually being the only guy on the team who can replace someone like Pacheco, and actually looked pretty solid with his first game. So that is the Monday.
It's so crazy how quick Andy Reid can turn on you. Like Carson Steele looked solid in his first start, and then he fumbles one time and he never sees the field again. It's just like they threw him in the Kansas City dumpster and we're like, all right, we got Kareem Hunt back. So
yeah, well, I mean, the thing is Carson Steele looked like solid to stop the bleeding at the position,
Right,
but
yeah.
he, they still had to bring in a pass catcher. Like now with Kareem Hunt, they've got a veteran who's not going to make those kind of mistakes, hopefully, but who can catch the ball and run the ball too, and
Yeah.
who has fresh legs, who
Yep.
hasn't been, I don't know. I love the narrative, and
Oh yeah.
especially in a situation where they just lost Rashee Rice. Now you've got like a really good pass catcher, probably a better pass catcher than Pacheco, so
Yeah.
like I'd love to see how this plays out. Since it is Monday, that's at least a little bit hopeful for the shoulder injury. So hopefully he's just like 100% by Monday night. But that's one thing I'm going to be watching closely is like, what does this usage look like? Because the more I kept thinking about it, I know when we first talked about it on waivers, we were kind of like, this is probably going to turn into a timeshare regardless. And then I was just like, but he is like the only guy who can do both, and not like you got Samaje Perine, who is pretty much mostly just a passing down back, and then Carson Steele, who's not going to catch the ball. So I was like, well, I started to think about it a little bit, and I was like, well, I swung for him in our dynasty league after I said it's probably going to be a committee, but I still got outbid for him. But yeah, I was able to grab him in a couple redraft leagues. So curious to see how this plays out. What was I going to say? I think, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Alvin Kamara in this game. The Chiefs are really tough on defense, especially in the red zone. And we saw Taysom Hill snake 2 touchdowns from him last week.
Yeah. I think Taysom Hill is injured though.
I think he's questionable, but
I'll
I
look
think
really
he'll
quick.
probably, it looked like it wasn't bad.
Let's see.
Absent from practice Friday, ribs not present. Yeah, so that's another thing to monitor. So if Taysom Hill is out, Kamara could have a huge game.
Yeah. Kamara's questionable with the hit, but he's probably good to go. But yeah, Taysom Hill's really been struggling with like that rib injury, so that's something that they probably will not let him play through, I would imagine. But I mean, you never know. You just have to keep an eye on it. Because I mean, if Taysom Hill does play Russo just made the point, but Alvin Kamara is awesome.
Yeah, he
I love
is.
that guy.
Me too, man. He was like the first time I ever drafted in a dynasty league. I took him number 1 overall, and later was regretting my decision because of the insane hype from everybody about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Everyone was just like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes handpicked him, like he's going to go nuts. And everybody was just freaking out about CEH. And then I sent a trade offer, Kamara for CEH, and the dude turned it down. And then Kamara just went on to have an insane, like I kept him for years. He was my cornerstone of my team, and he still looks really good. The only reason I am a little bit unsure about this outing is because of the little bit of, because I didn't see what he was dealing with until you pulled it up, but I knew that he was a little bit questionable. And then I was like, well, with Taysom Hill, if they're giving him goal line looks, like, and it's somewhat of a tough matchup. But yeah, if Taysom Hill's out, like Kamara, I mean, just think about that. Like if Taysom Hill didn't play last week, Kamara would have probably had 3 touchdowns. Like, so anyways, we can wrap that up.
Cool.
We're just sitting here going long today. Yeah. Well, it's not that long, but just a little bit extra chatty today. Let's pull up our DraftKings and wrap this thing up.
Cool. So what did you do last week?
All right, let me pull it up.
I went for 121.98. I had a dookie week because of your boy Kyler Murray.
I had 135.58.
All right.
And I also had Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I had Calvin Austin, who did not do what I thought he was going to do. With that being said, Russo, quote unquote, lost his lineup from last week, so we might be tied. Yeah. No,
I got 2 wins, you got 1, and we got a tie.
All right, that's what we're going with. That's fine.
I mean, what did you put up that week? You put up like 115 or something.
Whoa. Yeah, I did. 115.96.
Yeah, so it's like, that's why I was like, all right, we can call that a tie because I'm pretty sure my lineup would have won that one. 115.
All
but
I'm saying is he randomly loses his lineup the week. He's probably
Well, I
like
got-
114 and he's like didn't want to say it, but
no, I would have absolutely just jumped on that if I wouldn't have even told you that it didn't get locked in if I knew you only got 115.
yeah. It's all good.
But you can go first for DraftKings.
Cool. All right. So for my DraftKings lineup, you want to just rattle through the whole thing?
Yeah, you
Okay,
can just
cool.
break the whole thing down.
So this might come as a surprise, but for my quarterback, I've got Deshaun Watson against Washington. I think it's a pretty solid matchup for him. I've been liking what I'm seeing with him and Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, Amari Cooper does not think the same the way I do, but I think Deshaun Watson is starting to kind of look a little bit better. I know he's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not over here like singing his praises or anything, but he does have the rushing upside. He had 8 rushing attempts for 32 yards in the last game. He had a solid, little performance of 13 fantasy points. But I do like the matchup coming into this game. I think I'm crazy. I get it. Maybe I am. But, maybe this is a week where I score another 115er. But I like this matchup a lot. Washington's defense is really, really young. They're really small. They've just got a lot of things going against them. So I like the matchup for Deshaun Watson. Hopefully a dude who's been in the league for, ever can get a win here or make it a competitive game because his counterpart on the other side of the field, Jaden Daniels, is looking like Superman out there. So that being said, for my running back, I've got Kyren Williams. Love this matchup for Kyren Williams. Like I said, he's my start of the week for running back, so I had to pay him the respect and put him in here. The dude has just been absolutely balling going into this amazing matchup against Green Bay. He's averaging 20 fantasy points per game, so I think he'll be right there on that line again, if not higher, going into this. My running back 2 spot, I've got Trey Sermon. This is just too good of an opportunity to pass up for the price tag, $5,700. He's getting the start. No Jonathan Taylor here. Pretty solid matchup too going into this game against Jacksonville. They're not a great defense, so really liking the price tag at $5,700. You got to take advantage of things like this on DraftKings when you get the chance. Wide receiver 1, I've got Nico Collins. Like I said, dude's averaging 25 fantasy points per game. I don't think that slows down. I know Buffalo's number 1 in passing yards allowed, but I think he's gonna go back to just cooking. Wide receiver 2 spot, got Jerry Jeudy. Hopefully he keeps it going. Week 1, he had let's see what he was doing here. Last game he had 9 targets for 6 receptions, 72 yards. He didn't get a touchdown, but he had 13.2 fantasy points. So really liking the connection I'm seeing there. Hopefully they can link up for a touchdown and both of these guys kind of ball out is what I'm hoping for here. Next up, I've got Xavier Legette. I really like what I'm seeing from Xavier Legette. The price tag at $5,100 is pretty sweet for him. Andy Dalton is just dealing the ball to everybody, and Xavier Legette looked really, really solid in the last game. 10 targets, 6 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 rushing attempts for a rushing touchdown. Dude had 19.6 fantasy points. He's absolutely balling. He's really looking like their Deebo Samuel, like Swiss Army knife type player. So really liking what I'm seeing from Xavier Legette. Tight end spot, I've got Cole Kmet. I think this makes a lot of sense for the game script. He practiced fully on Thursday, so he's not questionable anymore. Dude's averaging 10.1 fantasy points per game. In the last game, he had 3 targets for 3 receptions. He had only 34 yards, but I think it's going to get better for him. We've seen that one game where he had like 10 receptions or something insane. So, it is a safety option for a young quarterback in Caleb Williams. So I do like what we're getting there from Cole Kmet. And then for my flex spot, I've got Chuba Hubbard at $6,100. The dude's been absolutely balling. Last game rushed 18 attempts for 104 yards and a touchdown. Great matchup here against the Bears. Their running defense is pretty solid, but where they really shine on defense is in the passing game. They don't allow much in the air, so I think they're going to have to go to Chuba Hubbard a lot in this game, and I think they'll get him out in a lot of screens and just let him be the dynamic playmaker that he is. So, and then for my defense, I've got the Broncos against Vegas because I just think that the Vegas Raiders suck doo-doo, and the Broncos defense is the truth. So that's the whole narrative there. That's my slip.
All right. Did you use all your budget?
I had $100 remaining.
All right. Well, this is going to shock you guys, but I have 300 remaining. And by the time I'm done listing this, you're going to be like, how did he have the same budget and build this lineup when Jordy was only able to put together what he did?
Whoa.
No, I'm just saying. You can hear me out and let us know in the comments whose team you'd rather have. But starting me off here at quarterback for 6,500, I've got Jordan Love. Already, my start of the week. I think this is going to be killer matchup for him. 26th against quarterbacks, and the dude just came off of a game with 4 touchdowns and 386 yards. So I love him to have a really good week, averaging 25.8 per game right now. And then my RB1 is going to be Derrick Henry at 7,800, averaging 24.9 fantasy points a week. Cincinnati 24th against running backs, and Derrick Henry almost went for 200 yards. Like, I don't need to explain to you how good Derrick Henry's looking right now. In my RB2 spot, I've got Jordan Mason. My running back start of the week at 7,400, Arizona 29th against running backs, and Mason. I think that they're going to just be controlling this game. Arizona's going to have a really tough time stopping Mason in this, and he's also averaging, I think I already mentioned it, 20.9 per game. And then I've got a stack for my wide receiver 1. I went with Jaden Reed, also my wide receiver start of the week, at 6,500. This game against the Rams, I think that it's just going to be a nice high-scoring shootout, because I do think that the Rams will be able to keep it competitive. But Jaden Reed's, I'm pretty sure his worst game was last week with Jordan Love. Like, went for like 170 plus total yards the first game that they had together, and then as soon as Love comes back, he goes for like 140 and a touchdown. So I love that. And then I actually, where I saved all my money was going with Darius Slayton as my wide receiver 2 at just 3,900. And that's, what's that?
That's a joke, right? Just kidding.
No, I actually have him in my lineup.
All right.
But yeah, Malik Neighbors out, Wan'Dale Robinson questionable. And they're going to have to try to keep up with this the Seattle offense. So I'm going to go with Darius Slayton, who last week went for only 8.6 fantasy points, but saw 5 targets, 3 receptions for 56 yards. So I think with Malik Neighbors out, he's the next best option they have as far as a big-bodied wide receiver that Daniel Jones is going to just have to target. I know it's a tough matchup, but especially if Wan'Dale Robinson ends up missing too, I'm totally willing to throw him in the lineup at 3,900. And then my wide receiver 3 is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. at 5,900, playing against the Colts. I think this will be a fun game to watch. The Colts are struggling against wide receivers, 26th in the league against wide receivers, and Brian Thomas Jr. is showing that he can be a legit wide receiver 1, and his role just continues to expand. He even started to get some rushing attempts last week. So I love him in this. And then also another stack at tight end, I'm going with Tucker Kraft at just 3,500. Soft spot. I mean, the whole Rams defense is kind of struggling against the pass, but they are 23rd against tight ends. So he's averaging 8 points a week. So I figure I don't expect him to have a huge game, but a solid tight end if I'm not using much of my budget. And then at flex, I went with Justice Hill for 5,300 in this game against Cincinnati. We're seeing that he's become like an every week flex RB2. He just came off that game where he went for 20 fantasy points, averaging 11.4 a week. And then obviously I had to go with the Broncos as well, because they're just looking scary good on defense. Not like super like fantasy friendly in the sense where they're just, getting a bunch of pick sixes and stuff, but but the threat is always there. And if we end up seeing Aiden O'Connell this week, I think that'll be a great matchup. I expect the Broncos defense to do great this week.
Yeah, it might be cooked, boys. We'll see. Hopefully my trash squad can hang in there with all these guys. But you know what? I like my chances. We'll see what it is. But
yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, you just never know. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us for this entire episode. Sorry we had to kind of do 2 episodes in one because of some technical issues yesterday and scheduling and whatnot. But we'll be back on track. We will be dropping our picks video for the Sunday slate tomorrow. So make sure you tune in, make sure you subscribe so you're notified when we drop that video. But yeah, looking forward to this Sunday slate. We'll be dropping 6 picks for Prize Picks and Underdog. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will catch you in the next video.
Good luck, guys.